somebody had wrote this question, and it was interesting. They said, why do you think that atheists seem to be more depressed than theists? And I'm going to give them a generous kind of reading, right, and say, I don't think atheists seem to be more depressed. This person clearly thinks atheists seem to be more depressed than theists. I was not aware that atheists were or were not, and I know they're not stating it. They're saying it very, iffy. But I Googled it, and I actually found a study in 2013 that says that theists are more depressed. So I don't know. I couldn't find anything. There's one here that says religious believers
are more depressed.
Religious believers more depressed than atheists. So this one said that there was a study published in the October issue of Psychological Medicine, but online now, followed more than 8,000 people in rural and urban areas in 7 countries for 1 year. During the research, they were each examined at 6 and 12-month intervals. In those timeframes, 10.3% of religious participants became depressed, compared with 7.0% for atheists and 10.5% for those with spiritual understanding of life, the study found. I am not educated enough on this to say that this one study is correct or not correct, or if there's more comprehensive perspective somewhere. I literally Googled it because the question came up, and I hit several links. I did find some links that talked about depression in the atheist community, but I couldn't find anything to say that atheists had higher rates of depression. Yeah. If they do, I'm totally open to that. And if somebody wants to post research or information at the blog that supports that.
That'd be a good thing to unpack at the blog, maybe.
I'm not prepared to say they don't. I'm just saying that in the 5 minutes of Google time I had before the show started.
Seems like my understanding of depression is largely a result of not feeling in control and being kind of a victim, feeling like a victim. And I think the central message of atheism is, there's no God. You gotta pick yourself up by your bootstraps and do your own thing, and you're largely in control. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that's a bit at odds with this whole being out of control feeling that a lot of folks would have with depression. Another thing is it seems like when you change from being a theist to an atheist, you cash in your cognitive dissonance of the religion, and you inherit a little bit of existential angst. That seems to be the trade-off between the two. One has the other. One has one in spades, and one has the other in spades.
One of my friends, the psychiatrist Rod Poole, we've interviewed him on the show and talked to him on the original Godless Bitches. Have spoken to him a few times, and I really like his input. But one of the things he talked about was he was involved in some debates about the ethics of prayer in therapy, and that was why we had him on. And there was in one of the debates, he talked about a concern. He felt that from an ethical standpoint, it was better for a psychiatrist to refer a patient out to a religious leader if the patient was expressing a desire for religious support. So if I'm seeing a patient and it's a Jewish patient and he wants religious support, I reach out to the local temple guy that's in charge of the temple and say, can you help this person? I have this patient, he wants this, kind of support. Can you talk to him? If they're Catholic, you reach out to the local Catholic church and say, so he had contacts, and he would refer those contacts when he felt it was something the patient wanted or might benefit from. But one of the problems was the person arguing against him was saying that the therapist should engage in supporting this religious perspective directly. And he was saying this is rife with ethical concerns and problems. And one of the problems that he brought up was what happens when I cut out the religious leader who is supporting them and I take on that role as well as their doctor. And then we go through the treatment and it fails. Mm-hmm. And now he has lost faith in his doctor, and he has lost faith in his God, because now it's not just a treatment didn't work for me, or these 3 treatments we tried have all failed. It's, why does God not think I'm good enough to be cured? Mm-hmm. Why does God not want to help me? Why does God want me to be sick? And so you have these problems that arise, like you were saying. If you take it as, this is a mental disorder that I suffer from, there are treatments for it. They don't work for everyone. I hate the fact that I'm struggling. I hate the fact that I'm suffering. I can only try what's available, and if that doesn't work, I'm kind of stuck in this crappy situation, and then I have to think of, how I want to cope with that going forward. But I don't blame myself for it. I don't think, what did I do wrong that God is punishing me? And I don't have to sit there and think to myself, what is the reason God is, wants me to suffer this way?
Right.
Or why does he not
all
love
magical
me?
Thinking.
Yeah, why does he not love me enough to help me? Or why am I so, rejected here by my God? And he was saying that if you divorce those two things, that if the treatments don't work, he still has support from a religious community and has that person in the religion that can then keep working with them until you can formulate something else. And you guys can work in conjunction. And if one goes down, the other one is still standing. So you've got this multi-support system that he was saying is much better than if you fail on all fronts for your patient.
And that is something that religions generally do pretty well, is they do have a support system, and they do have folks that will sit and talk with you about whatever issue. You may not get the answers that are going to be super helpful, but at least you've got a community there, a ready-made community that you can be a participant in. We're trying to do that with the ACA. We're trying to do that in our secular communities and things, but that's sort of something that we're lagging behind, I think, in some respects, the religion.